Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Vose, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Here we are rolling around to January 19th, MLK Day, federal holiday for banks and mail and a lot of businesses. So maybe you guys are off today. I don't know, but teach their own on, hey, whatever you're doing with that. And shoot. Hope you guys are rocking and rolling today. Hope you got a good day going on. Hope you had a good weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that. But most importantly, we got a good show planned for everybody today. And we're going to talk a little bit about equipment purchases and some prepay stuff and getting ready for some snow. And going to have a little talk about football tonight, maybe. And a lot of that going on. Somebody said there's a big football game down in Miami, so we'll see what that's all about. But yeah, that's where we're at here at Profits Unlimited and Wayne's Lawn Service here in Louisville. We got a cold start to the morning. Actually, it's still getting a little colder. Actually, but it was like 28, I think, when I left the house this morning, and so we're going to temperature is supposed to drop another 3 or 4 degrees. I think as we went it says cold fronts coming through is what it amounts to, so um, we'll see how all that pans out, but yeah, so far so good on the on things getting colder, and this doesn't look like it's going to be one of those wasted codes either. I mean, it looks like we got a opportunity for some snow maybe later on in the week. We'll see how what Brett has to say about that. I think Brett's going to hop on with me this morning. I think they had a little slow down, if you will. I mean, they got plenty of weather going on across the country, but he thought he's probably going to be able to hop on with us. So we look forward to that. But as always, you know, his real job takes precedent over that. But hey, hope you guys had a great weekend. I know we did. We had a sleepover with all the grandkids Saturday. Tab's got four. I've got three. So there was a total of seven there, or six. 6 out of 7 made it, and so it was pretty good. Pretty good little adventure Saturday night, having all that going on at the house. But they had fun. It was organized chaos, and we had a good time with it. And I think they all had a good time. Played a little pool and a little karaoke, little bit of drawing, a little bit of crafts, you know, going on. Tab had some things that they could make for Valentine's Day. So for their mom or dad or whoever they wanted to give it to. So yeah, that
Boyfriends,
do what?
boyfriend.
Boyfriend, yeah, yeah. Addison made it over too, which was really a great surprise. She's my oldest and 13, so wasn't sure if she was going to make it. And it was funny, Daniel. Sunday morning we were talking to her, and she says, "Yeah, it was actually more fun than I thought it was going to be." So, anyways, yeah, that was a compliment, wasn't it? Yeah. So that was pretty daggone good. Heck yeah, more fun than she thought it was going to be, which I can completely understand. You know, when you got the youngest is 5, let's call it, you know, and everywhere from 5 to 13. So, yeah, it was so we were glad she came. It was kind of funny. Her and her Brooklyn, her sister, and Brooklyn's 10, so she was the next oldest. But Brooklyn was they stayed downstairs, Daniel, and they were in your old room
Yeah.
and in Holly's or Katie's old room. And Katie's old room, that vent comes right up to the my bedroom. You
Yep.
know, I used to talk to Katie all the time, and they learned that this weekend.
Nice.
They learned this weekend. I said, just so y'all know, I could hear everything y'all were talking about at 2 in the morning. You know, and
Nice.
Addison had the boyfriend on the phone, and And Brooklyn's like, well, yeah, but they were just, he was just breathing and, about half asleep half the time. And, but that was kind of funny. So I ask Tab, I said, we think I ought to holler at him through the vent, to let him know, just, hey, quieten down a little bit, and she says, well, that'd probably be nice of you. But then I decided, no, let's bug him with it in the morning, you know? So, but of course, I took it to the next level. So when Addison came up, uh, she Brooklyn was talking about Addison sneaking up and getting. Now she didn't have to sneak up, so why they thought they had to sneak up, I don't know. But sneaking up in the middle of the night and getting some chocolate, a snack out of the pantry, which they know they don't have to do that. I mean, obviously, I think it was more of a mission to see if they wanted to come up and torture the other four that were upstairs, because they had slept upstairs on a pallet. That's what they wanted to do. And so Addison evidently took a pillow and threw it on one of them. And so I didn't tell Addison that Brooklyn told me all this. And I said, Addison, I understand you had a little snack last night. How you know? I said, our camera caught you. And she's like, oh my God, those are cameras. So she thought our surround sound speakers. She said, there they are. I said, yeah. I said, so you don't have to sneak up. She said, oh, I know. I just wanted to see if I could come up without waking you up. And the funny part about it is, and I said, well, that was fine. I said, but what'd you throw the pillow on them for? And she's like, oh my God, you saw that? She said, well, I didn't really throw it. I just kind of dropped it on them. I wanted to see if they were really sleeping. So is that a 13-year-old wanting to torture? Yeah. Katie said yes. So anyways, that we had a good time with it. And it was funny. Right after she left, Leslie came and got them and took them home. Right after they left, Addison sent me a text. She says, can you send me that video?
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, I said
Funny.
no. I said, once I look at it, it doesn't store to a cloud. It's only till I review it, and I've got just a few minutes to save it. So she's none the wiser to that yet, unless she's listening to our show, which is very possible because they're out of school today. But yeah, so she was really thinking we had a video going on that. So, but anyways, that's what we did this weekend, and then yesterday just kind of chilled out predominantly. What'd you do this weekend? Fun, Daniel. I know Caitlin was under the weather a little bit, but
Whole lot of nothing really. Just
was it?
yeah, I don't even did a bunch of laundry,
Did you
kept things clean.
got caught up?
Not really caught up,
Or
just getting things clean from sickness and just
yeah,
keeping it nice and sanitized, I guess you could
I
say,
hear
and
you. Yeah.
doing all that fun stuff.
All
That's
right.
about it.
Here's Brett. Let's get Brett on here. Let's see here. Hello, Brett. How are you doing?
Hey, good Monday morning. I'm doing good. How are you?
I think we're doing okay, man. I appreciate you hopping on with me this morning. It's the world
Yeah,
famous Brett Waltz with Bam Weather on with us. So you guys have been pretty daggone busy, huh?
yes, it has. It was busy last week. It's probably going to be even busier this week compared to last week with some bigger storms potentially in the card.
I hear you. Well, I mean, I'm sure that's the big thing right now is, everybody, all the sensationalism wrapped around this monster. One of our, Kyle was telling me today when he came in, somebody, one of our local guys said it could be an apocalyptic storm. Is that what
Oh
that's?
boy.
Yeah. So they selling advertising a little, huh?
Yeah, I guess whatever gets views and clicks these days, right?
Yeah, but I knew you'd give our listeners a better input on that. But hey, before we get to the weekend
Sure.
potential, what about this Tuesday, Wednesday morning thing for this region, the Ohio Valley? Uh, Anything real, or is it
Yeah.
let's just get to
Yeah,
the weekend kind of thing?
little clipper system that's going to work through. I think it's going to be more impactful for, say, like Northern Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan. But we'll need to watch along the Ohio River, especially in Indiana and Ohio, Wednesday morning for maybe a mix of some rain, snow, maybe a little bit of freezing drizzle mixed in, but I think it's probably more snow than anything. Impacts will be minimal. I don't think that it's going to be a widespread issue, but a couple of slick spots on Wednesday morning as people are getting into work can't be 100% ruled out. Again, I think the better accumulation risk, a couple of inches up towards Madison, Milwaukee, Lansing, Detroit, in that region.
So our listeners up in the upper Midwest, I guess, is in for some more snow.
Yeah, they've just had a lot of these little events, just really nonstop lake effect and nonstop these light little clipper systems. They haven't really had any huge storms, but certainly been busy.
And yeah, right. I know I was talking to a couple people that that I know up that way, and that's exactly what they said. It's nothing too crazy that they can't manage, just a lot of consistency with it. So we'll
Yeah.
see. How's it been, Indianapolis, around that area?
We've had a couple of those little light events too. This morning we had a couple of little snow bursts come through and produced a scattered coating, same type of a thing on Saturday as well. So it's really been similar. It's been even less than what Wisconsin and Michigan have had, but just a lot of these little scattered light coating events. Pesky is what I would call them, but nothing crazy.
Yes, and I know we're too far out to get really dialed in on the weekend event for my part of the country right now. Let's talk about my part of the country,
Sure.
or anywhere probably to dial in anything, and that it's just too far out. But what are you guys currently thinking?
Yeah, as you said, in terms of specific details, we'll need a couple of days to dial that in. But I would say number one, I have pretty high confidence there is going to be an impactful winter storm. I think heavy snow and potential ice accumulations are both a concern with this type of a setup. What the big question is at this point is not whether it's going to be an impactful storm, it's just how far north does it actually track? We've got an interesting mix of a really strong Arctic high to the north and, some southerly flow from the south. And that clashing of air masses is really one that can certainly be favorable for ice events. I would say that in terms of the highest impact, whether it's snow or ice, I think Louisville is right in it right now. The pattern setup, and if you look at what we call teleconnections of what's going on out in the Pacific Ocean and in the Atlantic, it is favorable for a track of impactful wintry weather near the Louisville area. I think anywhere from Indy to Louisville to Lexington to Nashville, Tennessee needs to be watching this storm system very carefully. It's really the biggest one we've seen so far this year.
Really? So
Yeah, because we've had so many of these light events, and even the ones we had in December, they were more clipper-like. This is really the first true winter storm that we've tracked this year. A lot of the other ones were northerly systems, clippers, if you will, and this is the first one that I think can produce a lot of precipitation, and so the snow totals have the chance to be higher than what we've seen this year, wherever the bullseye ends up being, whether it's Indy, Louisville, or Lexington. And again, I am concerned about ice accumulation somewhere with this system as well.
I gotcha. And now, from the freezing rain standpoint and icing standpoint, does that, if today was the day, I mean, is that trending more north or more south, or what is that high pressure suppressing? Since it's suppressing it south, will that take the freezing rain potentially further south?
Yes. The high. I think the high is going to prevent the northern, the extreme northern solutions. I think from panning out. I think Chicago is probably too far north, other than maybe some lighter snow. I think that Indy is probably going to be more of a snow than an ice field. I think Louisville to Lexington, you're not out of the woods either way. Because
Okay.
my concern is sometimes data at this distance can be a little too aggressive with the Arctic air and the Arctic high, and you have the tendency for these systems to tick a little bit further north.
Okay.
I think that Lexington, Nashville is in a bigger risk for the ice accumulations right now, but Louisville definitely need to be on the lookout too.
I gotcha. Well, I appreciate that heads up, as always. That, I mean, I don't mind the snow. It's just, man, that freezing rain situation is just something that, I could do without. And I'm sure everybody probably predominantly thinks that way, but you know,
Well, and it's challenging to forecast too because you have to factor in wind. If it's too windy, that can limit the accumulations and the duration of it. And it's rare to get a really, really big, impactful ice storm. If it's gonna happen this year, it's probably gonna be this storm though.
I got you. Well, that's what we'll wait on for further updates as we get closer to
Sure,
it. So
sure.
that's all we can do, right?
Yeah, I think things will be dialed in a little bit more late tomorrow or Wednesday. We should start to get a little bit of a better handle on the track. Right now, there's still a lot of variability with the model data.
Good deal. Any real chance you think of it being pushed further south?
You, I think not south of Louisville. Um,
Okay.
could it be pushed south so Lexington, Nashville is in the bullseye? That's not impossible at this distance. That's certainly in the scenarios. But I really think that along the Ohio River, one way or the other, North Track or South Track, is in a pretty decent spot for some kind of wintry impact.
All right. Well, then that's what we'll plan on here. So we'll have everything hooked up, ready to go, and sounds like it's going to start. What do you think? What's the potential start and stop? Is it Friday at night and then out of here by Sunday afternoon, or what would you say? What's your best guess
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, it's likely Friday night into Saturday morning is when things begin to ramp up. Throughout the day on Saturday, it probably is a fairly long duration type of an event, but then it's out by, I'd say, Sunday morning. Things are tapering off.
Okay. Well, good deal. Well, I guess the best thing for us to look at then is that it's weekend, so that does help us manage a little
Sure.
bit with businesses and things like that. Not everybody's open, so you don't have so much pressure. So yeah, if we can get that
Yeah.
thing out of here early Sunday, man, that will be good by Monday morning when most everybody's expecting to get to where they need to get to and getting their businesses right.
Yeah, yeah. At least we'll have Sunday to kind of recuperate and to prepare or to clean anything else off that needs to be cleaned off. I think I remember it was the 2009 ice storm slash winter storm, and that one came early in the week, and we were off of school for almost the whole week. So yeah, at least it's coming on the weekend to give schools and whatnot some time to react.
So what's February look like?
I think February could be busy too. I do think there's a warm up. I think that we've got some brutal cold coming. The cold coming, especially for the Midwest as we get into the weekend. We're talking about lows in the negative teens and 20s across Iowa and Minnesota and Wisconsin. Wind chills, even colder than that, probably even some sub zero wind chills around here as we get into early next week. I think we do have a moderation in there. Sometime late the first week of February, I think that we start to warm up a little bit. Could be a 5 to 7 day stretch where it's milder. I don't think it's quite as long as the mild stretch we had the first half of this month, but I do think it's in there. And then I think that the back half of February could be busy. I think that the back half of February could offer up cold and perhaps additional bigger winter storms. February has always kind of been the month we've been watching for that, but with that type of a setup, it's big boom or bust. It could be rain, it could be snow, it could be ice. But at the very least, I think February offers up some potential for wintry weather events. I think the back half of the month could be pretty busy.
All right. I appreciate that end of it. And off the weather side of it, how about IU tonight?
I am nervous. I am excited, but I am nervous. But I'm nervous for every game. But yeah, it's super, super cool, super exciting. I almost can't even believe it as an IU alumni that watched through all the bad, the really,
Yeah.
really bad seasons. And it's super cool I'm gonna get to watch it with my grandma tonight, who has been an IU fan for 80 something years. So it's a cool thing. I hope they can pull it out.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, we'll be hoping for you. So you going to have a few little party favors and whatnot going on tonight, a little tailgating, but inside.
Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. I need to be in here to cover the snow tomorrow, but have some family over and watch the game and hopefully enjoy ourselves.
All right. Good deal. You want to give us a Hoosiers for you?
Yeah. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Hoosiers. Yeah.
There you go, buddy. Hey, thanks for hopping on, Brett. I know you guys are crazy busy, so thanks for hopping
I
on with us.
appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, all right. No problem at all. We'll talk to you next time.
Yep.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Hey, that was Brett Waltz with BAM Weather. You can reach those guys at BAMWX.com. If you want some weather guys that are going to treat you right and give you what they really think is going to happen, those are the guys to do it, man. They've been really good for us. So, Daniel, what do you think about the game tonight? We'll talk about it in a few minutes.
I think it's just
Daniel's a
crazy.
U fan, by the way.
Yeah, I like Miami, but I mean, if Indiana won, I wouldn't be upset. This
Yeah.
was just a crazy thing to see. It's like I can't imagine Kentucky being in this position. Imagine Kentucky in 2 years being in the national championship,
Yeah,
and that's really what Indiana has done, except probably even a little bit crazier.
yeah.
Just, I mean, it's amazing.
It,
It's unbelievable, really.
it,
I
it
mean, I'm just
really
waiting
is.
for the story, waiting for the movie.
The movie on it. It would, yeah. If they finish it off, it could be. You know,
I think either way, there's probably going to be some sort of something,
yeah.
documentary or movie, or because I mean, you don't see even in basketball, which is more so underdog sport, right? Because you have less people involved that need to be competitive in order to win.
Right.
But even then, you don't really see something like this happen.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I'm pulling for the U for you.
I
You
don't even
know,
know if
but
I'm
I'm like you.
actively pulling against
But
Indiana.
but
Like,
that's the way I am too, man.
I wouldn't be upset if Indiana just started, came out and started, putting
Pumping
it on
them.
them. I would be like, this is crazy. Like I'd
Yeah.
probably be cheering for them because it'd be so cool to see.
Do you think there's any type of home field advantage for a game like this or not? Really?
I think there's potentially some disadvantage, maybe even to being at home, because you're in Miami for one, which is like a party city, right?
Yeah.
And being at home, the players are not just amongst that, but they're amongst their own friends and family, probably more than they would be if they were out in, let's say, the Arizona, the desert in
Somewhere.
Arizona
Yeah.
or something where it's like seclusion a little bit more. You have a little bit more. I don't want to say more focus because I'm sure they have their level of focus and stuff like that, but there's just more to being even Indiana in my anybody in Miami going to Miami is going to be, it's a party town, it's a club town, it's a town that has a lot of distractions.
Yeah.
But I will say though that they did get to keep their $3 million travel,
Oh, did they? From
whatever
the
you call it.
NCAA?
Yeah, or from the college football playoff. I'm not sure who gives it to them now because the NCAA is not actually associated with the playoff. But whoever gives them that money, that $3 million travel expense thing, they just get to roll it into whatever they want, NIL or whatever. So they don't have to worry about it.
That's pretty good travel funds, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for whoever it is that you want to win. And yeah, I'm like you. I, I, I'd kind of like to see IU win just because of what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Chad. Yeah, that's going to be a really good situation for them, and it'd be nice to get that first one.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, that's a thing. How long would a coach stay on something like that?
He just seems like though somebody that doesn't mind staying where he is, only because of the fact that like he he was at Alabama and he wasn't like a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. He wasn't high up. I think he's just a positions coach. But if you're at Alabama, you probably have the opportunity to then go stay there for a while, go to somewhere like an Indiana or Kentucky or a whatever, instead of going down to, I think he went to like Elon or something first.
Yeah, he went way to somewhere where his dad was at, or
D2 or
something. I
D3
think.
or something,
Yeah,
maybe. Worked his way back up to James Madison. So it's like maybe you could also say, well, that's like his journey and trek to get to the next level as well. I don't know his own goals, but like I don't. He just seems like somebody who would be content at doing something at this kind of place,
Yeah.
you know.
We'll see. Well, this time tomorrow we'll know. You know,
He got a huge contract extension in the middle of the season, so I think he's making somewhere near 90 million.
oh my God, don't even say that. That just is frustrating. I'm not mad at him. I mean, the fans support it. So, I mean, that,
Yeah.
I mean, the fans make it all possible, but it's just like, oh my God,
Somebody's keeping it.
you know,
Somebody's
I
keeping
mean,
it,
that's
whether
what,
it's him, whether it's the bigger wigs, the athletic department as a whole. I mean, it's there. Somebody generated that money and somebody's keeping the money.
yeah,
So it might as well be distributed to someone who is doing what they're doing to help them generate that money, right?
I don't know, just such big numbers. Huh? Yeah, well, that's the other side too. Whew, God
You got
sakes.
people though that nowadays with the
Well, I mean, look what they paid for a ticket.
corporatization
I mean,
of, but yeah, but the tickets don't go back to the schools. The face value does, but not the resale. The $10,000 tickets and 20,000, that's not going to the
but how do
schools.
they get that much? How do, yeah, isn't that something?
That's secondary. The secondary market is
Is
good for the secondary sellers, but that doesn't go into the
I
pockets of
got,
the school.
that
The
ain't,
big money's from the TV deals. That's where the money is.
Lordy. All right. Well, we'll call it. We'll call it that, and we'll touch base on it here in a second. Hey, we'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station. Don't you go anywhere. Did say it's going to be a pretty good storm somewhere. I just hope we don't get the freezing rain side of it. I'll take the snow. We'll take whatever we get. It's the only thing we can do. But I would prefer having the snow side of it and not
Yeah.
the freezing rain side of it. It's always a
How
pain.
cold can it, I guess really how warm can it, or not can it be, but at what temperatures do you really stop seeing a freezing rain? Most
That would have been a
likely.
great question for Brett, but here's my answer on that. It's going to depend on how deep the cold. It's a shallow layer of cold air that causes free rain or freezing rain. Okay, so basically, what happens is with the cold air down low and the warm air and the rain coming up over that front, then it falls through there. If it doesn't have time to turn into a snowflake, that's when you get freezing rain. So that cold air profile has to deepen, the way I understand it. Okay, and then that rain can change over to first sleet and then snow. So it'd just be a matter of when the real cold air catches up to the precipitation. And from a snow and management perspective, um, if we could start off with snow, um, then we leave that snow be,
Yeah.
and let the freeze and rain accumulate on top of that versus
Yeah.
cleaning your snow off and then
Almost like a rug.
it's
Put the rug on, so
and,
move
and
the
then
rug after it's all over.
go after the fact if you can. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear.
Crazy to think that it could be in the winter, especially when it's gonna be wintry weather and not like 50 or 60 or something like that. That when it's 20 or 30 degrees down here, that even up there it wouldn't be so much colder.
Yeah.
Just because I can remember going skydiving when it was 90 down here at the,
Yes.
whatever this is called, surface area, and then Katie in the sky. It was, in 10,000 feet, it was 20 degrees.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think in the winter that it wouldn't just be even crazy. Like,
It wouldn't
so
be
there's a
cold.
70-degree difference just 10,000 feet up then, which I don't know how high the clouds and the rain and all that, but you think it would just continue to get colder.
Yeah. That would have been a really excellent question for Brett. I'm sure he'd be rattling the answer off now,
Yeah.
of course, but that's all right. We'll save it for next time. Well, yeah, down Panhandle,
Goodness.
Florida had snow,
Crazy.
and
It's -8 in West Yellowstone right now.
is it really?
Yep.
Whew, but the Buffalo are cold.
Sherry's out there going to put their coats on.
Yeah. Oh my God. I read something neat about buffaloes, man. that they walk toward the
That's
snow.
the storm.
They're the
When
only
it's-
animal that
it's snow,
does
the
that.
rain. Yeah.
They figure go in it and get through it and get to the other side of
Yeah.
it and be done with it.
Spend less time in it than walking away from it.
Yeah. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
So,
That's pretty wild.
and did you know the buffalo can jump 6 feet?
No.
I think it was a buffalo.
I bet so.
I
Because
don't,
that's their, like we can climb, right? Like we have our hands and we can climb over. So they can't really do that. Like animals as a whole. So that's why, like, I guess they can jump better.
yeah.
Otherwise they'd have
Maybe
to
that's it. I think I heard that
going around everything.
because I was like, no way, But anyways, yeah, God, that's code. That's code for sure. Let's see, we got a few texts here. Let's see what we got. Dun, 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 dun. He said, I always thought hot air rose up. Me too. That's why I never did understand it when you're flying and you're in one of those planes that tells you your height and
Your altitude and stuff.
and the temperature and all. You're like, how in the world is it that cold up here? You would think that the sun coming
Density of
through,
the air, yeah, is different up there. So
but yeah. And then getting back to the other side of it is it's all the millions in merchandise sales.
yeah, I mean that's a big one too.
Yeah, just think how much IU stuff's been sold or
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Miami stuff's been sold.
I mean, there's a direct correlation between Alabama getting more dominant in football, like in the early 2000s until today, and their actual college attendance, like enrollment.
Yeah.
So this is good for their education side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Holly wanted to go to Alabama.
Oh, yeah. Alabama's huge for people to want to go. And,
I'm like, unless you get a scholarship, girl, you ain't going to Alabama. That just out of the mom and dad scholarships not paying Alabama.
did you know Miami's a private school?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. University of Miami's a private school. And it's crazy. It's one of the most expensive schools in the country to go to.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's like, well, I don't know what
I
it
had
is
no
now, but I
idea.
remember looking whenever I, was looking at it, which was crazy. It was like 56,000 a year for tuition or
Oh
something
my
like that.
Well, you'd have to be a good athlete to go there.
Athlete or yeah,
Athlete or
student that lives in Florida.
a foreigner on free government aid.
I don't
No,
know if they
but
get in private schools.
Well, yeah, private schools do qualify for.
I didn't know if they had like the same. I didn't know if like a University of Kentucky would have the same programs or whatever you call them as like a private school. Like I don't know what any
I
private,
got you.
like a Bellarmine or whatever.
Yeah, or Sullivan,
Sullivan.
Bellarmine, Sullivan. What's that one down Lexington? There's a couple. There's several, but yeah, they qualify for that. But for you guys listening to us in the state of Kentucky, I'd be curious for you guys that have pesticide license. Did y'all get your renewals in the mail? I thought about it over the weekend. I'm like, man, we haven't got our renewals. Like to renew, to send in to pay. And Katie went online this morning and looked, and we did it online. But I'm just curious if anybody else that has their pesticide license in the state of Kentucky, if you got your renewals like we used to in December, or did they say anything, Katie, potentially that they don't mail them out anymore? I wonder. I mean, I could believe it because I think they stopped sending cards last year or the year before, too. So it's like, all right, we'll see how that goes. And obviously, it's going all right. They'd be a good group to have on here just to get their perspective. We did talk to the Department of Agriculture when we were over at Woodhaven
Yeah.
Country Club.
A lot of people listen to that and like that episode. So
yeah. Oh, really?
yeah, a lot of people
So
downloaded
good deal.
it.
So yeah, maybe we see if we can get that young man on there again. He was pretty fun to talk to. Yeah, Mike said they told him they don't mail them anymore. So I guess you just got to remember that
Go on and
an email would be nice. An email reminder.
yeah.
Hey, it's time to renew. But that because they certainly send you that email out when it's, oh, sorry, you've your license has expired. No, shouldn't say that. I don't know how that really works, but um, anyway, turf teacher could tell us about that side from the states that he's certified in that do the training on that. But yeah, Mike said state inspector told him that. So I guess you just got to stay on top of it. Everything's digital, right, Daniel?
Yeah, those things are. And it's more, I think, because it for several reasons. For one, I know the mail is becoming a little bit less reliable
Yeah.
in timing and stuff like that to get to you when you got to get something to you that has a deadline and stuff. But when it comes to email, I think it would be so easy and nice to just set something up that goes out to all your registered people. Hey, this is something we send out on December 20th every year or whatever. And
Right.
I mean, how long does it take to
Mike said they're good at sending out their cease and desist letters. Yeah, we get one of those every year from them on our insurance. When that insurance expires out and they haven't got their new certificate yet or whatever. And the reality of it is they are quick at getting those out, but which I guess that's probably more important than in their eyes than somebody staying licensed. But hey, they do offer a lot of opportunities. I'm not throwing them under the bus. I'm not trying to get on their radar. I'm just saying, hey, if you hadn't thought about it, you need to get online and get your renewals taken care of before something happens. So, all right. Like I said, Daniel, I agree, but that would be too simple for the government to adapt. Probably a lot of truth on that as well. But anyways, a lot of you guys are saying, well, I don't even spray, so it doesn't matter. So, but if you're and this is something I've due diligence on that. If you're doing fertilizer or you're doing Roundup, yeah, you need a license for that. So a lot of guys don't think so. They're like, oh, I'm just putting down granular fertilizer. Or I'm just doing pre-emergent in beds, or I'm just spraying Roundup on curbs and cracks. You probably do it forever and never get caught. But if you do, the risk and reward doesn't weigh out just for what it's worth. So it's worth getting the proper paying the $25 or $50 fee, whatever they charge now. I think it's 50. And as soon as you do it for hire, then you need the license to do it. So then you're properly insured and that whole thing. So notice I said properly, not fully, because nobody's ever fully insured. So that's a discussion for your insurance guy as well. So let's see. Fred said Indiana just sent out their renewals last week. So that was cool. They still get theirs sent out. Yay. So I think as a courtesy, you ought to at least get a letter or an email.
One of the two, yeah.
One of the two. I mean, not just, well, you remember it on your own kind of thing, But anyways, it is what it is. So Mike said he knows that probably 95% of the guys applying pesticides in Kentucky don't have a license anyway. Mike, I don't know, buddy. I don't know. I'd say you're probably pretty heavy number. I think you're right. I think it's pretty heavy number to say the least. So, but the thing is, just do it right. Do it the right way. That's the thing to remember. Do it the right way and get your license, get your insurance to do it. And that way, if something, God forbid, happens, probably never will, but it's just not worth the risk. Just not worth the risk. So, and speaking of that, bidding season is amongst us, right? I mean, hey, still obviously doing snow for another 8 weeks potentially, I guess. But it's bidding season on lawns, whether it's landscaping and mowing and just full service type of bidding work coming along, and just be careful to pick your bids, appropriately, if you will. And what I mean by that is, I got one the other day, Daniel, that came in here, and it's some daycares around the city, preschool facilities, and the scope of work is pretty clearly defined. I give them credit on that end of it, but one of the funny things in here, it says this is a 12-month contract with potential to expand. What kind of carrot's that? What are we expanding into? If it's a 12-month contract, we adding another month, or we talking about adding services, or what are we adding to that? But here's the thing that disqualified us right away. It says biweekly mowing and bagging of offsite disposal when the grass is high. I mean, when ain't it going to be high? I mean, July and August, maybe. Maybe, and at the end of the year, maybe. But so I don't know. I'll send them biweekly pricing, but I'm not going to send them biweekly pricing. Let me rephrase that. We're just going to send them pricing to just route it weekly. If we get the bid, we get the bid. If we don't, we don't. But I'm not going to bag clippings on a biweekly cut. I'm not going to do a biweekly cut like that on 5 facilities that has got a good stand of grass. And then you got certain times of the day that you can get in there that they've got in here. I don't mind working around that because, we got a daycare we do. We had a couple that we used to work with, but one of them got blown down in a tornado last year. But so they haven't rebuilt. See you, Chad. Thanks, man. But the reality of it is the bid itself doesn't look, too crazy, but it says one of the things in here, debris and litter pickup for each visit. Now, I just want to break this down a little bit for you guys that may be new in the business. That's too vague. That's too vague to say debris and litter pickup each visit. I mean, because what happens if, start doing some if scenarios in your mind. What happens if, let's think of a scenario, Daniel, with debris. Well, here's a real thing. You get a lot of paper for some reason, or debris that is blown over, or, you got a truck going down the road. It sounds crazy, but hey, you got to think about the contingencies of what's the possibility. Okay. And that's why you need contingency on pricing in all your jobs. But it could be just somebody. I mean, it could be should have thought about this a little bit, but what can it be? When I'm looking at something, the way we phrase around debris and litter pickup on each visit, we add to that verbiage on our proposal that simply under normal circumstances, we've allocated X amount of time for debris and litter pickup. Anything above and beyond that is going to be billed at, and then your hourly rate that you want in there. So it's kind of, when you're trying to guess how much debris somebody's going to have, you never know. You never know. I mean, are they alongside of a major thoroughfare where it's going to be 20 minutes every time you go? There's jobs that could have longer time picking up trash before you mow than, the mow time it's actually itself on the job, Daniel. I mean, that's what a lot of people don't think about. And we've had some of those, especially if you're going to biweekly cuts and you've got ditch areas, and where it's going to go down into that area, get hung up. The grass is higher. The paper's going to hang in there. It gives you more time, more labor. So be careful about, debris and litter pickup and how that's going to be controlled. And then, like this one says, weed control in beds, hardscapes, fence lines, and curbs. It doesn't say anything about frequency. So again, that's something where the verbiage that you put into your service contract, or before that, even your proposal, how are you going to address the verbiage of that? Are you going to say, we're going beds and curbs and hardscape areas, or however you want to define it based on what they say they want? That's based on an every 2 week service cycle, or an every 3 week service cycle, or what's the frequency? And if it's not defined in their request, that's something you need to reach out to them and ask them. Hey, say, hey, what's the frequency that? Well, we just want it to keep looking good. Well, I understand that, but that when that's their answer, what's that do to your positioning on bidding that job? It puts you into a place where, well, we just want it looking good. Well, that's too vague. What looking good is to you and what looking good is to them may be one weed in there that they want you to come back and deal with one weed. Whereas when it comes to spraying curbs, spraying hardscape, spraying fence lines, weeds in beds, there has to be a predetermined service cycle. And how many times haven't we talked about that around here, Daniel? A ton, right?
Yeah.
And we finally got pretty good at putting the right verbiage in there. And some people don't like it. But what we don't like is being held to an expectation that is more than what they're willing to pay for.
Yeah. It'd be really no different than if it just said mow the grass as needed.
Right.
Like, what does that mean? Because it's obviously even with weeds or grass, whichever, you have a season where things are going to grow more rapidly. So you could, even cutting it weekly, you could, okay, well, I need to come back every third day and cut it in some parts, and what
Right.
does as needed mean? Because, I think realizing that the more specific you can get is important. And it's funny because it seems like sometimes the people who, or the properties that, it's like, well, we want to try to pay the least amount but get the most, but you're putting yourself and the company that you're trying to work for in handcuffs by telling them what you want without telling them enough of what you want. So then each party has differing expectations, and I think it just kind of it's a bad situation. You think it's like, oh, it's a good thing because they're telling me all these things that they want, but sometimes it's like it becomes more unclear the more that you say.
The more correct. So you just be careful. Watch out for the debris and litter pickup. Watch out for the weed control in the beds. Watch out for no more than 1/3 of the grass blade can be removed at any one time. How many you guys have seen those? And if you haven't, you will see that in a proposal, and that's something that says, hey, you can't do it. I mean, I can't even provide a weekly service until you're going to only be removing 1/3 of the grass plant, when it's growing like that. So be careful about what you sign up for, to Daniel's point, because although it may look good to say, hey, well, this is a 12-month contract, which means a 12-month billing, which means, hey, we're going to be, receiving some income through, the slower times of the month. And they always want to say, well, I'm paying you and you're not doing anything for 3 months or 4 months. Well, that's because we've already done the work. Let's just put all this in a perfect scenario of getting along really great. And that, we did the beds right. We did the trash pickup right. The mowing was right. The pruning was right. But then they want to question, oh, I forgot. That's right. Yeah, we're on 12-month billing. But God, you're not doing anything. Well, no, we've already done all the work. We had that conversation with a customer last week. Kyle did here. The work's already been completed. So it's not that you're paying for something that's not been done. We're waiting to be compensated for the expenses that we've already incurred. That's the reality of it. So you just gotta be careful with that. And when they talk about in this one particular, it says fertilization and weed control program. Doesn't say anything about how many applications they want, how many weed control applications versus fertilizer applications. So that's where it's up to you to take their scope, define it, and even if it's just on your proposal, you know, call them and ask if they won't. Well, that just bid it the way we got it. Well, I'd love to, but I need some parameters around what's a fertilization program. Is it 5 applications? Is it 6? Is it 3? I can't bid this, and then you expect not to have weeds, but you want to pay for 3 applications a year.
And I think it's kind of goes back to what David Bowling was talking about last week, to where especially when you have uh, companies that you're working, business to business, those businesses probably have either a management company that does this thing, or regardless, they've worked with other lawn services that have maybe they feel like have burned them in the past. And so now they feel like they need to get down to this level because they think this is what is required. This is the industry, blah, blah, blah. We did it a different way and it didn't work. Well, probably because you hired the wrong person, but you can't tell somebody that because they don't want to believe it. But it's unfortunate because if you work with someone like a Wayne's Lawn Service, like whoever out there that's listening, that we know that there's plenty of in this industry as well, that will just simply take care of it. It's kind of like going back to the snow thing, right? Like, let us deal with it, let us handle it, we'll do it, we'll take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. And that's what, this is the same way in a sense. Like, you can't, I guess, kind of going back to my point, like if you hired somebody to clean your house and said, well, only wipe off the counters as needed, do the bed sheets as needed, do the this as needed, do the what's the things on the thing with the wall and the
baseboards
as needed, do the windows as needed. It's like, yes, all those things are what cleaning a house means, and all of these things are what maintaining a property means. But you don't need to tell a professional company how to do their job. And they feel like they have to tell a company how to do their job because they didn't hire a professional company.
Right.
So let us tell you how we're going to do it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But don't come to me telling me that to maintain a property, you have to cut the grass and do the weeds and blow it off. And then you got to do this. And then you got to load your mowers like that.
Yeah,
it's over management because who you've worked with in the past has led you to believe that you need to over manage.
Yeah. And, we'd be happy to bid the job according to a specific scope of work, but the scope of work has to be clearly defined. Not just to Daniel's point, hey, you listed all this because you have maybe had some bad contractors. The other side of it is you're going to get another bad contractor when you list it this way that just says, hey, curb sprayed, weeds and beds controlled, fertilization program that doesn't say anything about how many applications of what types of products. This gets into service must be provided between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Okay, which again may not be a headache, but it might be. You got to figure out where they're going to fall within the route. So the main thing is when you're looking at a proposal request, make sure that you're not just bidding it based on their request, but does it make sense? What is the definition of debris and litter pickup? What's the definition of weed control in beds and or turf? What's the definition of a fertilization and weed control program? All those things come into play. This also says, and it's not bad things, but it goes back to your point, Daniel, 18-inch clearance must be maintained around building foundations. I mean, obviously you've had some problem with that. 3-foot clearance around playground perimeter fences. So, it's detailed in some areas, but it's not detailed in others. But it's up to your job as the professional to detail it down before you send the proposal in. So, good talk, good discussion on that. Stay tuned all day long on Turfs Up Radio because we are your industry and your station. We'll see you next time. Daniel, thanks for hopping on as always. And remember, profit's not a dirty word.